Silverstone Grand Prix weekend. Is it the second biggest weekend of the season, perhaps, for Formula One behind Monaco? I'll let you be the judge of that. One thing we know, though, is that there's always plenty of action at the fast, thrilling circuit that is Silverstone. So I'm Ollie Wilson for GPFans. Let's dive into everything we're expecting to see this coming weekend for the British Grand Prix. Last year's British Grand Prix is already an iconic moment in Formula One folklore, given the magnitude of the events that unfolded on lap 1. Then championship protagonists Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton collided at Copse Corner after an intense battle through the first sector and a half of the race. Following a 65G impact into the barrier that left the Dutchman winded, he was later taken to hospital and left angry by his rival's victory celebration. Fast forward 12 months, and it seems Hamilton will not be a factor come race day. Instead, Ferrari looks to be the lead contender, but after winning 6 in a row, Red Bull is the favourite to make it a magnificent 7 at Silverstone. Verstappen will be eager to gain revenge for last year's events, especially in front of Hamilton and Mercedes' home crowd. Should he manage the win, questions will be asked as to whether the championship challenge from Ferrari has any legs left in it whatsoever. Charles Leclerc Canadian Grand Prix challenge was effectively over before it started, with Ferrari taking a grid penalty by changing the Monegasque driver's power unit. After a strong opening to the year when Leclerc took a commanding lead at the top of the standings, a string of reliability and strategic failures have left the team floundering. Leclerc led both the Spanish and Azerbaijan Grand Prix, so there is no doubt the pace is there to challenge Verstappen. On a positive note, Leclerc will be back at the sharp end of the grid for this weekend's event, and with Carlos Sainz finding some form in Canada, Ferrari has been provided with hope of a two-pronged attack against Red Bull. Mercedes arrives at its home race with upgrades aimed at pushing the team towards a Red Bull-Ferrari challenge. Despite the groans coming from the team over its lack of performance and discomfort for the drivers, the results for Lewis Hamilton and George Russell haven't been all that bad. Russell is the only driver to have finished each race in the top 5 this season, whilst Hamilton clinched his second podium of the season in Canada. With the adoration of the British crowd assisting them, both drivers will be hoping to be competitive at the sharp end of the weekend, even if those hopes seem far-fetched after the opening stanza of the campaign. The high-speed challenge afforded by Silverstone should play into McLaren's hands after a difficult non-scoring weekend in Canada. Other than the loop and Vale, corner speeds will be higher than the average on the calendar, which could provide McLaren with a chance to mix it up with the top 10. Lando Norris has gained a healthy following during his time in the sport, and with the home support, there is no reason to suggest the British driver can't put in a strong performance. The promising news for the Woking-based team is that Daniel Ricciardo has found a degree of performance again after his difficulties at the start of the year. A small momentum shift should see McLaren back at the top of F1's midfield ahead of Alpine. Sorry to be the ones that have to bring this up once more, but the jewellery ban is back in the headlines, but the exemption period is expiring this weekend. The situation spiralled out of control after the FIA issued a reminder at the Australian Grand Prix that jewellery would not be permitted to be worn when in the car. Hamilton was defended by fellow drivers, notably Sebastian Vettel, when it was suggested that he was being unfairly targeted by the clampdown, with the Mercedes driver turning up to his press conference in Miami wearing an assortment of accessories. The ban has been delayed until the end of June, but will now be put into effect, with drivers being scrutinised before racing. This is a case of let's see how this one plays out. Unfortunately, it is likely that this isn't the last we will be hearing on the subject this weekend or further on down the line in the season. And remember, you can follow the whole of the season with us here at GP Fans and on gpfans.com.